Oh, did you see that? Look, 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 look. Wow. Oh, they are really into showing off here and when they're inside the monastery. And actually we had an emergency right before, you know. I hit my head when we were at the Napoleon Fortress because of course the people was much smaller that time. And here we have the area where they have all kinds of different palms. In other words, this is a tequila laboratory. This type of palm, if it's maintained and cut, so it goes up like this one and grow up, I love it. That's the one when you sit it in and split, you pay €10. So the Dead Sea of Lokrum. And as you can see, swimming is allowed. So we are now going to take a trip to Lokrum Island, a place that I never visited, but I always wanted to visit. This is the island just outside of Dubrovnik. It's a protected nature reservoir, so I look forward to checking it out. I heard it should be absolutely amazing. So let's go with the boat and see how Lokrum is. So we have 2 tickets here. And well, there's the second one. All good. Thank you very much. I think it's going to be a 15-minute trip to the island, and then we're simply going to have a walk around. There's supposed to be walking paths which we can follow. So let's see. The ticket was €30, which includes the boat and the entrance to the island. And I think you need to go with this boat. Maybe there's some way if you can come with a boat from other places, then you need to buy the ticket over there. I'm not sure about that, but I'm going to check that out. But that's simply how it works. Yes, the ticket is with going out and coming back. And the boats run every half hour here in the main season. Basically from Dubrovnik it's 1/2 and a full hour. And from the island it's 15 and 45 is the departures out there. So 11 a.m. takeoff, exactly as scheduled. So let's see. The boat is packed absolutely full with people. I have no clue. There's way over 100, I would say, on the boat. Yeah. Not sure how many it takes, but it's definitely full. We already have Lokrum right here, so definitely the 15 minutes sailing trip, I think it's maximum. Okay, we're gonna go to a little bit further down where we find the port where we get off. I saw on it states if there's bad weather, they might cancel these ones. But in the summer in Croatia, it should be very unlikely that you have many of these days, but it can happen. If you're a resident of Dubrovnik, you have a yearly pass for €14, and you can visit as many times as you want. And if you're living in the county, Dubrovnik, then you can do it for €30 a year. Okay, here we have a few kayaks coming. Here we are. So let's see if he managed to dock the boat in time. I mean, sailing tips at 15 minutes now. It's 12. It's 11 minutes since we left Dubrovnik. So very short trip. So let's see if it feels packed with this many people, but I don't think so because there should be so many walking paths or trails. If people spread a bit around and have different, way of walking them, then there should be no problem. I think we're gonna head up towards 12:30 in that direction. There's this fortress. I think I would start with because my assumption is most people will go to the Botanical Garden, so not to do the same as everybody else. Have a map. We already saw the big one, but it's easy to have one in the hand. So there's the Monastery complex and the Botanical Garden. That's where I assume most of the people are going. Oh, it even says Fort Royale this way, so we're gonna take this way. So you saw ice cream there. Here there's other refreshment. No drone flying. We would of course never do that. Light lunch. So here, sandwich with cheese, glass of white wine and ice cream for 16 euro. Not crazy. A cocktail of the day. We're not with car, so maybe that's something we need to look into. And we can hear the peacocks. What I was not aware, of course I looked at Lokrum many times, but I was not aware that it is actually now included in the protected area of UNESCO. So not only the wall and the old town, but also Lokrum is now part of the UNESCO protected part. And you can go here and spend the whole day here, but you cannot sleep here. And there's several reasons. First of all, the preservation laws says you can't do it, but another reason is since the 11th century, there was built the Benedictine, where here they built the monastery, which you're gonna have a look at later. And when they were forced to leave the island, legend says that they banned the island. So if anybody would stay here, bad things would happen to them. They even have a fire brigade here. And you see they've been practicing the fire brigade. The hoses are out for drying. And another good thing, it's like Millet. There's no dangerous snakes here, so you can walk freely. We are on the right track. The path of paradise. We are on the way there. I have the feeling we're getting closer. And we haven't seen a peacock yet, but we heard a lot of them. But more or less shade all the way. So even on a hot summer day, you can go here. So what do we have here? Black-headed bunting, short-toed eagle. European snake. Woodchat striker, no idea. We'll see if we meet some of them. Okay, this I did not see coming. Oh, they need here. Perfect for a cable car. They don't even need to put it that high up, you know. The pavement here is not perfect. So last stairs, and we are finally at the Napoleon Fortress. The climb up here was, I would say not comfortable, because the last part there was no shade and it just went up. So I think this was built in the 18th century when Napoleon conquered this part of Europe. Oh. So definitely, probably they had some cannons here. Is there a balcony here? A terrace where they're serving light refreshments. I think there's a rooftop terrace. Wow. Now we're getting up. Wow, 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 wow. So you can definitely see, probably the trees was not that high that time. So you'd have full view in that direction. And then towards the Dubrovnik. Yeah. I assume these trees would not have been there. And then you would have had a perfect view. You still have pretty good view. So probably if ships came, you could alert someone and they might, see some rain, metal rain coming over their heads. I think that was kind of the point. Yeah, and you could even keep a lookout if somebody would come from land down there. And we can see Saftad all the way out there. But what would this be? Would it be because they had the cannon and there was wheels on it, so they could simply roll it? That would kind of make sense. So they could roll it and decide in which direction it should shoot. Yeah. So no matter where they were attacked, roll the cannon around, point it, and fire some cannonballs. That would kind of make sense. No, this was probably barracks for the soldiers, because I don't assume that they would, run up and down this steep hill several times a day. Okay, here it's also not too comfortable. So definitely wear some solid shoes if you plan visiting. I think it's water reservoir here. Kind of makes sense. But man, this is not comfy walking on. But at least it goes in the right direction, not up. Although going down on this is also not. I see the lady in front of us. She got a system. I mean, they could do a little bit of quad rental over at where we came with the ferry. Here is the water reservoir. That must be it. So even at that time, they built water reservoirs to protect everything. Smart. And there's goldfish in the water reservoir. Other exotic fish. So I guess fishing is not allowed. This was what I said when we came. Okay, here it's much nicer. So I think the island is 0.7 square kilometer, but 3 kilometers long and very narrow, something in that direction. So that you can actually walk quite a lot. The Lazaret, this one. Yeah, so it was the water reservoir we saw. And the island was once, there was an archduke called Maximilian. He was actually the one who got the peacocks on the island, and he had this as a summer residence. So I guess he didn't believe in the curse from the monks, that it was bad things would happen to people who lived here. I said he brought the peacocks, which we're gonna see later. But pretty nice island, to have for yourself. So this must be the Lazaret. I didn't expect that it would have so big walls. I thought much less was left over from it. But look how massive this is. Did really not expect that. So let's see if the story I heard is the right thing. Yes. This was built in connection with the outbreak of the plague, the Black Death, 14th century. So basically they built this Lazaret to move the people who were infected, to keep them in quarantine here at this Lazaret. But a massive one with walls, quite high all the way around. I guess this is the central point. We walked the wall outside, so no point in walking around in here anymore. Just wanted to, show this place before we continue exploring Lokrum. Yeah, now we just visited the Lazaret. That was a bit of a disappointment. I actually thought, from what I had read, that I actually thought it was actually in use for plague victims, but it was just constructed and never brought into use. And actually we had an emergency right before, I hit my head when we were at the Napoleon Fortress, because of course the people was much smaller that time. So I needed, medical attention, but I found a napkin and that also solved the issue. We are already almost past 5,000, and we have definitely not explored half of the island yet. So I think we are heading towards another 20,000 steps a day. This time, 10, 11, these departures is probably when most people go here. And then they spend, a couple of hours, 3 hours here. So this is probably the busy period. I think if you come later in the afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock, there's probably not so much run on it, because most people are at the beach. And I looked up before we came if I could bring any goodies for the peacocks, but you're not allowed to feed them. And especially human food. The red house is just there, and the boat just came and dropped up a bunch of people. And again today, you see over there, Dino, no fishing, swimming down here, but you see over there, people are swimming. Yeah. So again, we forgot to bring. We're gonna go this way again. We've already been here. We just had a stop at Lokrum to get a refreshment, because as we walked around to the fortress, it got so hot, and it was surprisingly relatively okay prices. I would have expected it to be way more expensive here. And also they had some food, which was reasonable considering it's an island. So quite okay. So now the question is, we want to go this way because we want to go to the Botanical Garden. Oh, there's a peacock. That's the first one we saw. Yeah. Beautiful. I looked it up. Nobody knows how many there is. And they were brought here by this, as I said, by this Maximilian, the guy who had this as a summer residence. He brought them from the Canary Islands. And because, of course, they have no natural enemies here, they live in peace. I think pretty good peacock life. No issues there. And now we're in the Botanical Garden, and many of the plants here are from Australia. Some from South America, I think Chile, Peru. So definitely nothing you would see in the wild when you run around in Croatia only. California, Venus. So this is of course one of the reasons why it became a special protected nature reserve, is because of course of this botanical garden with the plants here. A Spartaca. Oh, well. That we know from somewhere else. And we have another peacock. Slowly they are showing up. The jasmine flower. Pity that it doesn't have flowers now. Nepal. There's basically from everywhere. Japan, Taiwan, Korea. Wow. And I think some of them they brought here because they wanted to test if they could survive here, but it seems going quite well for many of them. And here we have the area where they have all kinds of different palms. This one seems to be the one we see a lot. But the higher ones, I'm not sure about these ones. And this one definitely I never saw in Croatia. This one looks like one I had in the garden. I got very unfriendly with that one because it's so sticky, these leaves. But a nice palm garden. And now we can come to the, what's it called, cactus, agave. Population they have here is of different agave plants. So don't fall down here. It'll be a sticky experience. These are the ones you can eat. You can do something, you can eat them somehow, these red ones, if you pick them when they're red. They all look the same or similar. So who knows, maybe one of them is not eatable. Never saw something like that. I just need to see where it's from. Well guessed, of course it's from Mexico. So basically this is in other words, this is a tequila laboratory you have built here. So now I think we are getting to something which I very much like. It looks like spices. Thymus. I think it's spices. So, yeah, menta here, melissa, oregano, different types of oregano. Thymus, that's thymian. Yeah, I would guess. Yeah, and this one, okay. Rosemary, that one's clear. Salvia, that one, yeah. So this is for the cooking. Well, I think that was it. That was the Botanical Garden. Now I think we are heading back down here to see the monastery and to meet some more peacocks. Oh, did you see that? Look. Look. Wow. Yeah, you're showing off here. I see that. You're showing off. Wow, beautiful. Fantastic nature. Just impressive. The monastery looked more like a fortress from that side, you know, with a wall. And there's bats here inside. They're sitting up there. Holy smokes. I think they are for real. Think so? Yes. That's a bit spooky. Let's keep an eye out. You know, you already got hit yesterday, you know. We don't want a repetition. Wow. Should we take this side first? That's up here. We saw our friend. Impressive building. It's just showing off, you know. Wow. Holy smokes. Apparently something. Oh, they are really into showing off here and when they're inside the monastery. Okay. Is he angry or something like that? Wow. But look at the building, you know. I don't know if that's that old that it dates back to the monastery. It can't be. It looks too new built, you know. I mean, this may be over here where the stone is made like this. The tower maybe. But this over there looks too different in the construction. Maybe that was when this archduke was here. But definitely beautiful. And here's an olive oil mill. I think we can see in here. Okay, but that we know from other places. But definitely they had olive oils here. So, from Austria-Hungary, it says here. So I wonder if this is Maximilian Garden. It could be. Okay. This looks like, you know, something of a newer date. Okay, there's a restaurant here. Maybe his garden is down here. Yeah, I think it actually is. Let's go down to the garden and return up. Must have been, what was it, 20th century? In the ending of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, something like that. Of course, like that time, they always built labyrinths. Okay, not so dramatic one, as you will see in other places. And no peacocks hiding in here. So he just basically built a labyrinth, that seems to be it. And maybe a viewpoint out here, benches. Yeah, that seems like it. Down here there's a pier. You can go down here, swim, if you want to, when you're here. This type of palm, if it's maintained and cut, so it goes up like this one and grow up, I love it. But the garden here in the monastery. Also here they have cactus and all the palms. Beautiful. Look at the roof. All of this needs to be probably restored. They have another well, of course. Need water everywhere. Game of Thrones, of course. Here's some of the legends. This one with Richard Lionheart, they say that his shipwreck his ship went down here. 1859 was when this Maximilian of Habsburg got it. So they renovated a lot of the buildings. And there's a curse. Game of Thrones. This is from Cleese, where you, of course, also, if you saw a video, we already visited that. So they had some quarry here on Lokrum, which was, I think, a backup for some of the scenes in Game of Thrones. I'm not exactly sure if they filmed some of it here, but they at least had it. That's the one, when you sit it in split, you pay €10. After 1859, when this Maximilian took it, probably a lot of the buildings you see now is in the condition because he renovated it. I would assume so. So the outer walls was from the original period, and a lot of the other stuff has been renovated over the years. Maximilian and Charlotte. So now we need to see. We are at 3. We probably finished number 3. That's the monastery. So we need to go to 7A, 7B. That's some barracks. And then we're going to head over. I want to see the Dead Sea. So we didn't bring a ball. Again, mistake from our side. So, and this is barracks. I don't know what they kind of mean. If there used to be some historical one where the soldiers were here. Would you believe it? There's a fitness studio also. And of course, we can have a game of balota. Nothing is missing here. It kind of feels like a national park you're running around in. Huh? Here's the lake. Ah. So the Dead Sea of Lokrum. And as you can see, swimming is allowed. And because it's salt water, apparently the water comes from sources underneath, where it, from the sea, where it flows in. And the salt content here is especially high, so floating should be relatively easy here. As I said, we didn't bring swimsuits, so we cannot test that claim, but this is definitely what it says. Without offending anyone, I think I would prefer jumping into the sea. Probably when the waves hit in, water would be shut up here. But look at the rocks down here. That's where you can go swimming. Wow. Looks cool. Definitely not a flip-flop visiting island. This looks raw, with the clips, but check out our video from Millet. Then you'll see some footage of something which looks raw. If you visit and you don't feel like walking a lot, you should definitely explore the area, Botanical Garden, towards this side of the island, not go to the fortress, because that was really the tough part. So this is way more even, not that many hills, although in either case, do not wear flip-flops. But look, even in the trails there, you have the palms, and this, kind of indicates something important is located up here. I mean, I would really guess we should be able to see it now. If you can consider the barracks are over there, we did not see anything.
Yeah.
So, sorry guys, that's something we did not see, or Charles as well. But besides that, let me just count. There were 17 points on the map. We visited basically all of them except Charlottesville and number 16 and 17, which was Scarlet, there's some stairs, and the cross of Triton. We did 14 out of 17. I think we can be happy about that. So let's see what the clock says when we get down to the port area. So we are back on the boat towards Dubrovnik. We spent 2 hours and 50 minutes on our visit to Lokrum. We walked roughly 7 kilometers, which I don't think you need to do, basically because we visited almost everything you could visit, and the tough part was really going to Fort Royale. If you basically focus on the part near the Botanical Garden and the Monastery and the Dead Sea area, I think you would need to walk maybe 2-3 kilometers, and it would be, really nice tracks you have to walk on. So that's maybe for those who don't want to walk a lot, that's the way to do it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please check out some of our other videos from the Dubrovnik area. Thank you very much. Until the next one.